Deepwater Asset Management's Gene Munster is with us, along with Big Technology's Alex Kantrowitz, and Alex is a CNBC contributor. It's good to have you both with us. Gene, you say there's an 80% chance this blows over and they call a truce. Maybe I would have thought that after the first round, but here we are again. What leads you to believe that?
Well, I think they both have a lot to lose. Trump has, I think, probably the upper hand, but they both have something to lose here. So I think that the rational minds will ultimately play out. But whether this kind of feud blows over or not, I think one thing that's critical for Tesla investors to remember is that what's going on with the business, with autonomy, the progress that they're making, albeit early, is much bigger than any feud that is going to happen week to week between the president and Elon. And so I'm surprised that I understand the reaction, but ultimately I think that cooler heads will prevail. And if they don't, autonomy is still coming one way or the other.
How do you see it, AK?
Well, you know, logically, they should have not fought ever, right? The whole idea.
Yeah, but here we are.
Exactly. So when you're asking, do I think there's going to be a truce that's going to hold? I don't know. I mean, there's no logical explanation for why they're fighting now. And so therefore, I wouldn't use logic into the future to say they're not going to fight in the future. And I think that if you look at Elon Musk, you have to be saying, what are you doing, man? You're jeopardizing not only Tesla, but probably from a larger extent, SpaceX. So it's incumbent upon him to stop antagonizing the president. He's talking about how he's going to potentially form a new political party. I think every Tesla shareholder was relieved when he left the White House and said, I'm going to do something else. And they want him to be out of politics and be focused on his companies.
What about the Tesla customers, or even the prospective ones, that were mad at Musk for being close to Trump in the first place and are now don't want to see it end? They're like, more. Go ahead. Go after him some more.
I don't think the guy who has the bumper sticker on the back of his Tesla that says, I bought this before I knew Elon's policies, is going to go out after this Twitter fight and then take it off the car. I think it's going to take a long time to undo some of that damage with the more progressive and liberal buyers of Tesla that bought it for an ideology, now that he has been so close to Trump. You know, I think the only thing that happens as he stays in politics is potentially more damage on both sides.
I almost hear you, Gene, saying that the demand issues that have hurt Tesla in some respects as a result of this relationship with those two men we just showed on the screen doesn't matter as much anymore, because autonomy is where this company's growth is going to come from in the future. So if sales never recover, so what?
Well, at some point they got to recover, because you have to sell the vehicles to promote autonomy. But at the end of the day is that, you know, the brand will improve, assuming that he continues to step back from the political wrangle. And ultimately, again, I just come back to this. Just to get a snapshot, this is stuff that, you know, people like Alex and I, we obsess about every detail that's going on with these companies and the progress that they're making around autonomy and who's doing what. But sometimes when you're that close to it, you just lose track of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is something is going on autonomy. Tesla's one of the two companies that's leading in that. And ultimately, this is going to be the most obvious example of physical AI, something that's important for the U.S. more broadly. The government, Trump doesn't want to see autonomous vehicles roaming China and Europe and them being prohibited in the U.S., trucking, all the benefits of autonomy. And so, Scott, that's exactly right. They got to get eventually the units to improve. But ultimately, as Elon has said, this is all about autonomy. And I don't think the White House wants to stop autonomy.
Let's switch to Apple, because that stock has been a dramatic underperformer over the first half of the year. Hopes are high for a rebound. The stock's up today. Why? Because of a report that Apple's looking to a third party for AI related to Siri. What some have said, throwing in the towel on trying to do it themselves. Alex, how do you view this? Is this a good move?
I love this. I mean, this is Apple saying we're going to stop holding to our, tried and true principles and try something different. And the market is giving it permission to do it. We see the jump after Apple's going to say, maybe we don't build it in-house. Maybe we work with a third party. We use their model and we put our product on top of it. All the value, or most of the value in AI, is not going to come to these model builders. It will be coming to the people who build the product on top. So Apple has been obsessed with building a model. It's built the inferior model. It hasn't integrated it well with Siri. Working with a company like Anthropic, which cares a lot about safety, has built this Claude chatbot that people in Silicon Valley love, could go a long way to fixing the problem of the assistant that it has inside.